The distress signal from Arcturus 5 blinked red on the console. Commander Luke Hayes stared at it, his jaw tight. The colony had been under attack for days, supplies running dangerously low, and the alien raiders who had come before could return at any moment. Pilot Rachel Monroe paced the control room, her boots clicking against the metal floor, eyes darting to every monitor. Every second felt like a countdown. Engineers and soldiers moved quietly but urgently, their faces tight with tension. It was supposed to be simple. Send the SOS to the Galactic Alliance and wait for help, but no one could predict what would actually respond. The signal had been intercepted by the Deathworlders, a species whispered about across the galaxy. They were known for extreme efficiency and lethal unpredictability, and most who had seen them never returned to tell the tale. Luke felt a chill run down his spine as he imagined what they might do when they arrived. He hoped they were on his side. The control room was quiet except for the soft hum of machinery and the occasional beeping of consoles. Rachel finally stopped pacing and leaned against a table, arms crossed. "Do you think anyone is coming?" she asked. Luke didn't answer immediately, his eyes scanning the blinking signal light. "They're coming," he said finally, voice low. "But I'm not sure what to expect." Outside, the colony stretched across a barren landscape, metal structures clinging to the rocky surface. Alien raiders had already struck parts of the settlement, leaving craters and smoke trails. The humans had repaired as best as they could, but their defenses were minimal. Jack Thompson, the lead pilot, checked his fighter systems again, as if the repeated inspections could somehow change the outcome. Amy Grant, the engineer, adjusted a panel, her fingers moving quickly, mind focused on calculations and repair sequences. Luke knew they had no time to waste. The blinking light suddenly shifted, signaling the arrival of ships. Outside, the sky darkened with enormous silhouettes. Rachel's eyes widened. "What are those?" she whispered. No one had ever seen ships like these before. Massive, armored, moving with quiet power and radiating a presence that made even the most seasoned soldiers tense. Luke swallowed hard. "We didn't call them," he said. The Deathworlders did not wait for explanations. They simply assessed, calculated, and struck. The raiders hiding near the colony were obliterated with precise, devastating efficiency. Explosions rocked the ground and lit the sky, shaking the humans to their core. Jack maneuvered his fighter to get a better view, but there was no need. The Deathworlders' weapons were beyond anything the humans had seen. Amy's calculations couldn't predict the trajectories, the power, or the speed. Rachel could hardly breathe as the attackers were wiped out almost instantly. Luke finally realized the truth. They had called for help. But the help that arrived was beyond anything they could imagine, capable of destruction that made survival itself uncertain. Once the raiders were gone, the Deathworlders landed near the colony. They moved with a strange, rigid precision, scanning and assessing. Communication was difficult, their language harsh and alien, filled with sounds that made the humans flinch. Luke and Rachel struggled to understand, but the aliens demanded immediate repair and fortification of the colony systems. Jack and Amy worked under the alien guidance, following instructions that were cryptic yet oddly effective. Slowly, they began to see a method to the Deathworlders' brutality. Every command had a purpose, every movement calculated. Fear mingled with awe. Days passed as humans and Deathworlders worked side by side. Luke monitored everything, cautious, never letting guard down. Rachel adapted to the pace, moving quickly but carefully, learning the alien logic. Jack flew patrols following patterns that only the Deathworlders seemed to understand. And Amy studied alien technology, taking notes and trying to decode it. Though intimidating, the Deathworlders ensured that the colony's survival was almost guaranteed. Every weak point was reinforced, every weapon upgraded, and the humans learned to anticipate alien instructions before they were even given. Slowly, trust formed, though always uneasy. By the end of the first week, the colony was stronger than ever. Luke looked over the settlements from the command deck. Rachel beside him, Jack and Amy busy in their tasks. They had survived the initial attacks, and the Deathworlders had turned their defenses into something formidable. Yet Luke knew better than to feel completely safe. The Deathworlders' methods were unpredictable, and though they protected the humans, their power was absolute and terrifying. Rumors about them were true. They were unstoppable in their efficiency, lethal when needed, and mercilessly pragmatic. And now Luke thought, we have them on our side for now. But how long would that last? The sky above remained ominous, filled with shapes of alien ships, silent but commanding. Every human on Arcturus 5 understood, in some part of their mind, that they were witnessing something extraordinary, terrifying, and completely beyond their understanding. And so they worked, prepared and waited, knowing that survival would depend on learning the ways of the Deathworlders, the species they had accidentally called, and the force that had changed everything. The morning after the Deathworlders' arrival was tense but filled with cautious curiosity. Commander Luke Hayes stood on the observation deck, watching the alien ships as they glided silently across the sky. The colony had been fortified overnight, thanks to the aliens' strict instructions and relentless work ethic. Rachel Monroe adjusted her headset, receiving updates from Jack Thompson as he flew patrols around the perimeter. Amy Grant was busy in the engineering bay, studying the alien modifications and trying to understand the reasoning behind every adjustment. The humans were beginning to see patterns, small hints that suggested the Deathworlders were not merely destructive. They were methodical, calculating, and surprisingly protective, though still frightening in their presence. As the sun rose over the rocky landscape, a shadow fell over the colony. The Deathworlders had moved large structures into position, creating barriers and weapon platforms that were completely unfamiliar to the humans. Luke's stomach tightened as he realized the sheer scale of what had been done overnight. The raiders who had attacked before would have no chance against such power. Jack returned from his patrol, landing smoothly on the reinforced runway. "Commander," he said, voice taut with both awe and nervousness. "I've never seen anything like this. Every angle, every defensive point. It's perfect, but in a way that scares me." Rachel nodded, leaning against the railing. "They're terrifying, but at least we're safe for now." Luke ran his hand over his face, trying to stay calm. "Safe isn't permanent," he reminded them. "We need to learn as much as we can, fast." Over the next few hours, the humans worked alongside the Deathworlders, learning to anticipate instructions and adapt to alien techniques. The language barrier made communication slow, but gestures and repeated actions created a rough understanding. Amy discovered that the alien tools could repair and upgrade machinery at incredible speeds, and she found herself working frantically to keep up, fascinated and terrified at the same time. Rachel and Jack followed the aliens on patrols, watching how they scanned and analyzed every possible threat. Their movements were almost robotic, yet somehow intelligent beyond comprehension. Luke coordinated from the command deck, issuing orders and trying to translate alien commands into something the human team could execute. By evening, the colony was fully operational, every weak point reinforced, every weapon system optimized. The humans were exhausted, but they could see that the Deathworlders' work had created a fortress that would be nearly impossible to breach. Yet a nagging fear lingered. The Deathworlders' power was undeniable, but their presence was unpredictable. Luke wondered if this protection would last or if the aliens had their own reasons for being here that humans could not understand. That night, as the humans slept in shifts, the Deathworlders continued their work silently, moving through the colony like shadows with purpose. Luke stood outside, watching them, feeling both awe and unease. He knew the stories of their ruthlessness were true, but now he had seen their methods firsthand. It was terrifying, yet strangely reassuring. In the following days, the colony's routine became a strange blend of human initiative and alien precision. Rachel learned to anticipate the Deathworlders' actions during patrols. Jack began to integrate their tactics into his flying maneuvers, and Amy started understanding the logic behind their technology. Luke oversaw it all, guiding humans to keep pace without losing their own judgment. Suddenly, an alert blared from the command deck. Scouts had detected a small fleet of raiders approaching from a nearby asteroid field. Luke's heart raced as he realized that this would be the first real test of their defenses under the Deathworlders' guidance. Jack leapt into his fighter. Rachel manned communications and Amy prepared engineering systems for rapid response. Luke coordinated every move, trying to stay ahead of the fast-approaching danger. The raiders moved quickly, assuming the colony would be unprepared. They were wrong. The Deathworlders anticipated the attack, positioning defensive platforms and activating weapon systems that fired with terrifying precision. Explosions lit up the sky, shaking the ground and scattering debris in all directions. Jack followed the battle patterns the aliens had taught him, striking with a speed and accuracy he never thought possible. Rachel relayed information, guiding the human forces as the Deathworlders led the assault with devastating efficiency. Amy monitored systems, making adjustments under alien instructions to maintain perfect synchronization. The humans were amazed, watching as every raider ship was destroyed, none of the humans seriously harmed, and the colony remained intact. Luke felt a mixture of relief and awe. The Deathworlders had transformed them from a desperate, vulnerable settlement into a nearly invincible stronghold. Yet the humans understood that this power came with its own risks. The Deathworlders did not explain themselves fully, did not seek approval, and their methods could be extreme. Luke realized that the SOS had brought them something far beyond what they expected. They had not summoned mere allies, but a force that could reshape the colony's future, and perhaps the entire region of space. That night, as the humans gathered to rest, Luke looked out over the settlement, watching the alien ship stand silently in the sky. Fear, respect, and curiosity mingled in his chest. They had survived the first real test, learned to work with the Deathworlders, and witnessed the terrifying power they now had at their disposal. But the universe was vast and threats were endless. Luke knew that while they had won this battle, the lessons of survival were only beginning. Every human understood deep down that the Deathworlders' presence was both salvation and challenge, and that adapting to their methods was the only way to ensure survival in the days to come. The colony slept under alien watch, prepared and strong, yet always aware that the universe held dangers far beyond imagination. And the humans, under the silent, commanding presence of the Deathworlders, learned to face them with courage, precision, and a growing understanding that sometimes help could come from the most terrifying sources imaginable. The following morning brought a tense quiet over the colony. Commander Luke Hayes walked the perimeter, his eyes scanning the horizon where Deathworlder ships hovered silently. The humans had learned to anticipate some of the aliens' patterns, but the sheer scale of their operations was still staggering. Rachel Monroe adjusted the sensors, watching for any signs of raiders, while Jack Thompson conducted low patrols, keeping the skies clear. Amy Grant worked tirelessly in the engineering bay, studying the alien modifications and making subtle improvements where she could. The humans were adapting, but the Deathworlders' methods remained frighteningly unpredictable. Without warning, a large object appeared on the scanners. It moved swiftly through space, and Luke immediately recognized it as an incoming threat. He called the others to the command deck. "They're coming," he said, voice tight. Rachel's hands flew across the controls. Jack ran to his fighter, and Amy prepared engineering systems for rapid response. The Deathworlders did not hesitate. They moved into position around the colony with terrifying precision. Every weapon, every defensive platform activated in unison, forming a near-impenetrable shield. Luke felt a mix of fear and awe. The humans had learned some tactics, but nothing prepared them for the speed and efficiency of the Deathworlders' assault. The enemy fleet struck first, firing rapidly, expecting to catch the colony off guard. The Deathworlders responded instantly, weapons firing with deadly accuracy. Explosions lit the sky, shaking the ground and rattling the buildings. Jack flew alongside the alien ships, matching their patterns as best as he could. Amazed at how coordinated they were, Rachel relayed updates to Luke, guiding human reinforcements while Amy made adjustments to the colony's systems, keeping everything running smoothly. The battle continued for hours, the humans caught in a whirlwind of alien strategy and overwhelming force. The raiders had no chance. Ships were destroyed, fighters were disabled, and the enemy's morale broke under the relentless assault. Luke realized that the Deathworlders were not just protecting them, they were teaching the humans to fight in ways they had never imagined. After the final enemy ship fell, silence returned. Smoke and debris hung in the air, and the humans slowly came to terms with what had just happened. They had survived thanks to the Deathworlders, but the cost and intensity of their methods left everyone shaken. Luke walked among his team, checking for injuries and assessing the damage. Rachel, Jack, and Amy were exhausted but exhilarated, having witnessed power far beyond human capability. The Deathworlders stood silently, their presence imposing and commanding respect. Over the next several days, the humans continued to work alongside the Deathworlders, repairing and reinforcing the colony. Each day brought new lessons, and the humans began to understand that the aliens' harsh methods were a form of teaching. Every action had purpose, every command had meaning, and slowly the humans adapted. Rachel learned to predict patrol patterns. Jack integrated alien combat strategies into his flying maneuvers, and Amy began to comprehend the logic behind alien technology. Luke oversaw the entire operation, guiding humans to maintain control while following the alien directives. The colony's defenses became stronger, weapons systems more advanced, and the humans themselves more disciplined and aware. Yet even with all these improvements, Luke could not shake the uneasy feeling that the Deathworlders were a force to be respected and feared in equal measure. One evening, a scout ship reported strange activity on a distant ridge. Luke ordered a reconnaissance patrol. Jack flew with Rachel navigating, observing the terrain, and reporting back to the command deck. Amy monitored the engineering systems, ready to make rapid adjustments if the situation required. As they approached the ridge, they discovered signs of raiders trying to regroup. Luke realized this was an opportunity to test what they had learned alongside the Deathworlders. The humans, guided by alien strategy, moved carefully. Explosions erupted, defenses activated, and the enemy was forced into a retreat. The humans marveled at their own efficiency under the Deathworlders' methods. Over time, the colony became a fortress, nearly invincible and completely prepared for any attack. Luke, Rachel, Jack, and Amy had grown, learning to operate under pressure, following alien guidance, and making quick, calculated decisions. The humans understood that their SOS had brought them the wrong species, but perhaps the most powerful allies they could ever hope for. Yet in the quiet moments when the stars were still and the Deathworlders' ships hovered above, Luke could not shake the thought that their methods were not meant to be gentle. Their protection came at a cost, and survival meant following orders that humans could barely understand. Despite the fear, the humans were ready to face whatever came next, knowing they had learned to fight, survive, and adapt in ways no one else could imagine. The universe was vast, full of danger and uncertainty, but for the first time, Luke felt that Arcturus V had a chance, and under the unblinking watch of the Deathworlders, the humans prepared themselves, fully aware that the greatest challenges were yet to come, and that every lesson learned from these alien beings could mean the difference between survival and annihilation. The following days brought a strange routine to the colony. Commander Luke Hayes moved among the reinforced structures, his eyes never leaving the horizon. The Deathworlders hovered in orbit, silent and watchful, their presence both reassuring and frightening. Rachel Monroe coordinated patrols, learning to anticipate alien strategies, while Jack Thompson practiced maneuvers that mimicked the Deathworlders' precise patterns. Amy Grant worked tirelessly in the engineering bay, adapting alien technology to human systems where possible. Every day was a lesson in survival, efficiency, and the terrifying logic of the Deathworlders. One morning, the colony received an alert. A small raider fleet had been detected moving through the asteroid belt nearby. Luke called the team to the command deck. "It looks like we have company," he said, tension tight in his voice. Rachel's hands flew over the controls. Jack suited up for immediate deployment, and Amy prepared the engineering systems. The Deathworlders did not hesitate. Massive ships descended and moved into formation around the colony, creating a near-impenetrable perimeter. Their weapons activated, and defensive shields flared to life, casting the rocky landscape in a harsh alien light. The humans watched, awestruck and anxious, as the aliens prepared for battle. The raiders launched the first wave, firing rapidly at the colony. Explosions ripped through the sky, shaking the ground beneath them. Jack piloted his fighter, following the patterns the Deathworlders had taught him, weaving through enemy fire with growing skill. Rachel relayed targeting information and coordinated human forces, while Amy monitored the systems to ensure everything functioned smoothly. The Deathworlders struck with devastating precision. Every raider ship was destroyed, their numbers decimated before they could cause serious damage. Luke realized that the Deathworlders were not merely defending them. They were teaching the humans to fight, survive, and think with a new level of speed and accuracy. After the battle, the colony was left intact, yet the humans were exhausted. The scale of what they had witnessed, the power of the Deathworlders, and the intensity of the attacks left everyone shaken. Luke walked through the settlement, checking on his team. Rachel and Jack were drained but exhilarated, while Amy marveled at the alien technology that had made the victory possible. Slowly, the humans began to adapt to the Deathworlders' methods. They learned to anticipate commands, act without hesitation, and integrate alien strategies into their daily routines. Luke oversaw every operation, guiding humans to keep pace without losing their own judgment. The colony's defenses became stronger with each passing day, Weapon systems were upgraded, shields reinforced, and supply chains optimized. The humans had grown under the tutelage of the Deathworlders, learning to operate in ways they never thought possible. Yet the aliens remained enigmatic. Their motives were unclear, their methods often harsh, and their presence always commanding. Luke understood that while the SOS had brought powerful allies, it had also brought a challenge unlike any they had faced. One evening, a scout reported movement on a distant ridge. Luke immediately ordered a reconnaissance patrol. Jack flew with Rachel navigating, observing the terrain and reporting back. Amy monitored engineering systems, ready to make rapid adjustments if needed. The humans discovered that raiders were attempting to regroup, but the colony, now fortified and organized under Deathworlder guidance, was ready. Explosions erupted, automated weapons fired with precise timing, and the enemy was forced to retreat. The humans had learned to anticipate and react, adapting quickly to the alien strategies. Over time, the colony became a fortress. The humans, guided by the Deathworlders, were capable of defending against almost any threat. Luke, Rachel, Jack, and Amy had grown as a team, their skills honed under extreme conditions. The presence of the Deathworlders had transformed them from a vulnerable colony into a nearly invincible settlement. Yet fear never fully left them. The Deathworlders were unpredictable and their power was absolute. Luke knew that survival meant following their instructions, learning their logic, and maintaining constant vigilance. Under the unblinking watch of the aliens, the humans prepared for any threat, aware that the universe was vast, dangerous, and full of challenges that would test every lesson they had learned. Every day, every patrol, every repair brought new understanding. The humans adapted, and slowly, they realized that calling the wrong species had brought them the most formidable guardians imaginable. The Deathworlders did not merely protect, they transformed, trained, and challenged. Luke looked over the colony as night fell, the alien ships casting long shadows. They had survived, learned, and grown, but the journey was far from over. And in the quiet moments, the humans knew that they were witnessing something extraordinary. A partnership born from desperation, a bond forged in fire, and a lesson that would change the colony, and perhaps the galaxy forever. Weeks passed since the Deathworlders had arrived at the colony. Commander Luke Hayes walked along the reinforced walls, taking in the improvements that had been made under alien guidance. The buildings were stronger, defenses sharper, and the humans more alert than ever. Rachel Monroe coordinated surveillance and patrols, her confidence growing as she learned to anticipate Deathworlder strategies. Jack Thompson conducted flight drills with new maneuvers, each one a blend of human skill and alien precision. Amy Grant worked tirelessly in engineering, integrating alien technology into human systems and learning their logic with each passing day. The colony had become a fortress, capable of withstanding attacks that would have been impossible before. Yet the humans knew that the Deathworlders' presence was both protective and demanding. The aliens moved through the settlement with purpose, scanning, repairing, and upgrading. Their methods were harsh, sometimes terrifying, but effective. Luke watched as humans and aliens worked side by side, learning from each other in a strange rhythm that combined fear, respect, and necessity. One day, the sensors detected a small fleet of raiders approaching from a distant asteroid belt. Luke immediately gathered his team. "Prepare for engagement," he said, his voice steady. Rachel began coordinating communications and tracking. Jack readied his fighter for patrol, and Amy ensured the engineering systems were fully operational. The Deathworlders moved into formation, their massive ships descending silently with precision. Shields activated, weapons charged, and a tense silence filled the air before the first shot was fired. The raiders expected an easy victory, thinking the colony still vulnerable. They were wrong. Explosions lit the sky as the Deathworlders struck with devastating efficiency. Every attack was calculated, eliminating threats with precision that amazed the humans. Jack piloted alongside the alien ships, following patterns he had been taught, learning to anticipate enemy moves. Rachel relayed real-time updates guiding human forces, while Amy adjusted systems to maintain perfect synchronization. The raiders were destroyed almost instantly, their fleet annihilated before causing serious damage. The humans felt a mixture of awe and terror. They had survived under the guidance of creatures whose power was unmatched, whose logic was incomprehensible, and whose efficiency was terrifying. After the battle, Luke gathered his team. This was a test, he said. Not just of our defenses, but of how well we've adapted. Rachel nodded, understanding what he meant. Their coordination with the Deathworlders had made them more than survivors. They were now a formidable force capable of responding to threats with speed and precision. Over the following weeks, humans continued to learn, adapting to Deathworlder methods. Every patrol, every repair, every drill brought new understanding. Luke oversaw the operations, ensuring humans maintained judgment and initiative even while following alien guidance. Slowly, they began to integrate alien strategies into their own thinking. Becoming more efficient and capable, the colony became a beacon of resilience in a hostile sector. Yet fear and respect for the Deathworlders never diminished. Their presence reminded everyone that power could be terrifying, and that survival depended on discipline, adaptation, and understanding forces beyond comprehension. One night, a scout reported unusual activity near a distant ridge. Luke sent Jack and Rachel to investigate, with Amy monitoring engineering systems. As they approached, they discovered raiders attempting to regroup, perhaps thinking the colony was vulnerable. They were met with immediate resistance. Defensive systems activated, Deathworlder ships moved with terrifying precision, and the raiders were forced to retreat. The humans followed, using strategies taught and observed, contributing effectively to the defense. Each engagement taught them more about anticipation, coordination, and efficiency. The colony grew stronger, the humans more capable, and the Deathworlders' influence remained central. Luke understood that the SOS had brought them a species that was both protector and teacher, a force that could obliterate threats yet demand respect, discipline, and obedience. By the end of the 5th week, the colony was stronger than ever, fully fortified and operational. Humans had learned to adapt, survive, and even thrive under the guidance of the Deathworlders. Luke, Rachel, Jack, and Amy had grown beyond their former capabilities, capable of responding to threats with skill and confidence. And though fear lingered, the humans had gained understanding and strength. They knew that survival in this galaxy meant learning, adapting, and sometimes relying on allies who were terrifying yet undeniably effective. Under the watchful eyes of the Deathworlders, the humans of Arcturus V were no longer just survivors. They were a force to be reckoned with, ready for whatever the universe might throw at them next. The days following the last attack passed in a tense but productive rhythm. Commander Luke Hayes walked through the colony, observing the humans working alongside the Deathworlders. Each day had brought new lessons, and every human had grown in skill and confidence, yet the alien presence remained awe-inspiring and frightening. Rachel Monroe monitored communications, coordinating with the patrols and ensuring that no threat went unnoticed. Jack Thompson trained in the skies, following patterns that merged human instinct with Deathworlder precision. Amy Grant continued her work in engineering, adapting alien technology and learning to anticipate their logic. The colony had transformed from a vulnerable settlement into a fortress, stronger than anything the humans could have imagined. One morning, an alert sounded. Scouts had detected a large raider fleet approaching from a distant sector, moving faster than anticipated. Luke quickly assembled his team. "Prepare for engagement," he said, voice steady. Rachel adjusted the sensors, Jack readied his fighter, and Amy made final checks to the systems. The Deathworlders moved into position immediately, their ships casting long shadows over the colony as they prepared for battle. Their weapons and shields activated with terrifying efficiency. The raiders launched their attack, expecting the colony to be weak. Explosions erupted in the skies, shaking the ground and rattling buildings. Jack piloted with precision, integrating alien tactics he had learned, weaving through enemy fire and striking with speed. Rachel relayed targeting data, guiding human forces, while Amy maintained engineering systems, adjusting for the rapid changes in energy output and weaponry. The Deathworlders led the assault, eliminating enemy ships with unmatched accuracy. Humans watched in awe as each ship was destroyed, the raiders unable to counter the alien power. Luke felt a mix of fear, relief, and respect. They had survived again, not just because of their own skill, but because of the Deathworlders' guidance. After the battle, the humans and aliens worked together to repair and reinforce the colony. Luke oversaw operations, ensuring that humans retained decision-making abilities while following alien methods. Rachel and Jack trained new recruits, sharing strategies learned from the Deathworlders. Amy continued to study the alien technology, finding patterns and learning efficiencies that had previously been unimaginable. Slowly, a strange partnership formed. Humans began to understand the Deathworlders' logic, adapting to their style of precision, efficiency, and ruthlessness when necessary. The SOS that had been sent to the wrong species had brought them the most powerful allies imaginable. One night, as Luke walked along the perimeter, the alien ships hovered silently overhead. He realized that their presence had transformed not only the colony, but the humans themselves. They were no longer just survivors. They were a force capable of defending their home against any threat. Rachel joined him, watching the stars and the silent silhouettes of the Deathworlders' ships. "They're terrifying," she said softly. "But I think they've made us stronger." Luke nodded. "Stronger, yes. But we can't forget how dangerous they are. Their methods work, but they're not gentle. We have to be ready for anything." In the following weeks, the humans continued to train, repair, and adapt. The Deathworlders remained a constant, unyielding presence, teaching through action and expectation. Every human became sharper, faster, and more capable. Every patrol, every engagement, every repair brought new understanding. Luke, Rachel, Jack, and Amy led by example, guiding humans while learning from the aliens. The colony stood as a symbol of resilience and strength, a testament to what could be achieved when desperation met extraordinary power. Finally, the Galactic Alliance responded to the SOS, arriving to find a fully fortified colony, human and alien forces operating in seamless coordination, and the Raider threat eliminated. Luke explained carefully what had happened, knowing few would truly believe the story of the Deathworlders' brutal but life-saving methods. The aliens had vanished as suddenly as they had appeared, leaving behind awe, fear, and a legacy of unparalleled survival. From that day forward, Arcturus V became a story told across the galaxy, of humans who survived impossible attacks, of a SOS sent to the wrong species, and of the terrifying, unstoppable Deathworlders who had acted without hesitation to save them. The humans had learned to fight, adapt, and survive under guidance that was as frightening as it was effective. And in the quiet of the night, when the stars were bright and the colony safe, they knew that their lives had changed forever, strengthened by the most unexpected and terrifying allies they could ever imagine.